Good to see you, Shelley.
It's nice. Good to be here.
Yeah, it's nice to see you.
Oh, for goodness sakes, sorry. Forgot to silence my phone.
That's okay. I didn't hear it.
Oh, good. My heart is pounding.
Nice.
Sorry, I'm going to turn my phone off.
Sure.
I so appreciate you talking about time and how it's different or how it can be seen as different. Um, After there's been some sort of shift or whatever it is that happens. Um, I had forgotten how much time I had spent feeling done, that there was this long, seemingly long period of time on and off where I felt I'm just done. I didn't like want to die. I just felt done. And my therapist brain would kick in and go, "Are you depressed?" The whole, questioning that. And um, then I would think, oh, it's post menopause. You don't have any hormones in your body, so you feel done. So then there was that thing that would go around in my head. But when you described it today, the energy of it sounded very, very familiar.
Mm. Nice.
I feel sad that I didn't have anybody to speak to about it.
Mm. Yeah. Yeah, it can be so confusing because there is a lot out there that they don't know what this is, so they can't speak to it. So then you're gonna think like there's something really wrong with you that you should fix or
Yes, yes. And you also spoke about having interest in things before, and then the interest just went away, and then it kind of came back in a different way. And so that seems to have happened with this too. And it's just lovely to hear you speak about it and to recognize in this experience how there can be these things that are so confusing, but to know that it they will also get tired and fall away, and it will just kind of integrate's not the right word, but something like that. Um, it feels really supportive and helpful.
Mm.
And when you were talking about your mother, it made me think about my feelings about my parents, who my dad died a year ago. The anniversary was just a couple of weeks ago. And my mom died a year and about, well, it'll be 2 years this October. And last September, I think I told you this in a private session, my siblings and I cleaned out our childhood home. And that seemed like a death, a third death. And it's so strange now. I mean, I missed the anniversary of his death. I kind of knew it was coming, but there wasn't any stuff around it or feelings around it at all. And it's almost as if they weren't ever really here. It's
Mm.
almost as if that life was just something I dreamed about. I can't
Mm.
even I have brought mementos from my childhood home, and I see, and I think I'll place them somewhere, but they have no, doesn't have any meaning for me anymore, and it's so shocking.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, the sentimental value just kind of goes.
yeah. Now that doesn't explain why I haven't cleaned out my closet and don't want to give some things away. I haven't done that in years, but still, there's this real, yes, this sense almost like they weren't even ever here, and like almost like it that childhood never, almost never happened.
Mm, yeah.
And there's really, not anybody much I can talk to about that either, because it
Yeah.
suggests that there was something wrong with the relationship or something like that.
Mm. No, there's just a total disappearance of that. It's not only it's further than a past life. It's like it didn't happen, you know.
Didn't
It
even
just
happen.
disappeared. Yeah.
Yeah, it is. It's like like, yeah, that's like it, yeah. Did that even happen? Yes.
Yeah.
And I feel shy about doing this, but I wrote a short little poem about this topic, and I just want to share it. And
Oh,
then I'll,
nice. Yeah.
that's
Go
okay.
for it. Yeah, take your time.
The title of it is To You, the Apparent Other. You are no more real to me than the light which animates your face and hands, which can only be proven by its glint on the water or in its absence when all the dark curtains are closed. And yet, the constellation of chaotic particles captivates, light in its infinite expression, seeming solid.
Oh, beautiful. Oh, I love it.
Thanks. That's it. Thank you for today.
Yeah, that's gorgeous. It's crazy how this is completely empty, huh? There's nothing here.
And a heart can be pounding, but there's no story that goes with it. It's just a pounding heart.
Yeah, nice.
Thanks again.
Yeah, thanks so much, Shelley. That was gorgeous. Selena.
Hi,
Hi. Good to see you.
it's good to see you. Good to see everybody. I'm also glad that you talked about the topic of time at the beginning. Um, it's been a really weird couple of months for me regarding the path and things that are progressing and where things are going and stuff falling away. And where I'm at right now is I know I'm not doing any of it. I know there's no one here to be doing any of it. It's just happening on its own. And I've never been more certain of that, but there's also not a person here to be certain of that. There's just like, it's so obvious to me. But, and I've been describing that to some friends that I've met in this meeting, actually. And we've been talking and stuff. And one of them asked me what time was like for me, and if I noticed if I was distracting myself less with the stuff that I was sharing about where I'm at. It kind of made me think about it, and I sent back a voice note to them, and I was like, I'm distracting myself just as much as I always have.
Yeah.
Um, and that can look like different things. So like every couple of months, I'll download a new like phone app, game, and just like kind of play it obsessively, knowing that within a month, I'm going to get really tired of it and I'm going to find something else because it doesn't hold my attention and I'm not very interested in it even as I'm doing it. It's just, I need to do something with my time. Or I'll watch reality TV while I'm at work, or I will like binge watch. Like I just found a new improv group that I really like, and I'll just binge watch stuff that makes me laugh because it's like it gets me out of myself and it gets me out of this non-duality murk brain goo that like I've kind of put myself into the last
Yeah.
few years. And so I'm distracting myself all of the time, and there's still a very strong narration of time continuing and of you got to do this later and like dreading this later and stuff like that. But the thing that gets murky or confusing about this to me is like there's no personal energy to change any of that. Like that's what's happening right now. And because I know that there's no personal me to do anything about it, it's just kind of like, well, I don't want to hate it or judge myself for it because that's not going to do anything for me. That causes me suffering. We've been down that road. I don't want to do anything to change it because it's really painful to keep going through all of these different patterns trying to find out which one's going to get me to finally sit and be still. Over that, can't do it anymore. Uh, So right now it's just like I can tell my body doesn't want to slow down. I can tell my mind doesn't want to be with something. There's something here I'm distracting myself from, absolutely. But I'm tired of sitting in silence, doing inquiry, doing like I'm tired. I can't do it anymore. So
Yeah, sounds good. Sounds healthy, sounds natural, sounds normal, sounds familiar.
like it would be more unhealthy to judge myself for it. You
Yep.
know, it's I so when Ramat was talking about like if people were to peek in, they would just like see this like really dysfunctional. For me, I feel like if someone were to peek in, they'd just be like, "This is a very lazy woman. This
Yeah.
woman, this is a woman who does not have a lot of drive." Um, and they wouldn't be wrong,
Well,
but I
that's
don't.
just a perception.
Yeah, that's the
Because,
thing is I really view that as being the worst thing in the world anymore.
yeah, nice. Because it's not. It's just what it is. It's not labelable that way anymore.
Yeah,
Yeah.
It doesn't really make sense. I was the exact same way. And I did feel like, yeah, if anyone actually looked into my life, they would uh that's why when I visited my sister and stuff, she would say things like, yeah, that I didn't expect, just as a joke, like an awakened person, which is stupid. Um, it doesn't make sense anymore to act like this. And I was very needy, I was very clingy, and but it was so natural. There was no judgment. It's just what was here at that time. Um, I didn't care. It's just like, yeah, it is what it is.
I'll have those impulses or those instincts where it's like, well, shouldn't I be doing something right now? Shouldn't I be looking into the self? Shouldn't I be focusing on my breath? I noticed a kind of funny pattern in myself, which is I always felt like I needed to read something pivotal so that when I was going to be silent and go do nothing, I'd know what I needed to do, as if that there's any kind of logic inside of that. But I've noticed it in myself enough to absolutely see what's going on, which is in order to be silent and still and peaceful, I don't have enough knowledge yet. So let me read something that someone else says leads to it so I can practice it and then I'm going to get there. And it's just now I'm just that's bananas. That's not it's not gonna happen like that.
Yeah, that's really well said. You just see, like, no, that's bullshit.
Yeah,
That was never necessary.
yeah. So maybe it's kind of talking it through. Maybe it's when you see that you're not gonna be able to make it happen. Because I kind of have come to that conclusion. Like I've tried a lot. I don't think I can make it happen. I don't think there's anyone here to make it happen. I guess letting go can look differently for everybody. And for here, it's been a lot of just letting the body do what it wants and a lot of vegging out. So I also relate to, when we were talking earlier about the look at what the body's been through. Why wouldn't it want to self soothe? Why would, like, that makes perfect sense to me. Um, I think there's some of that going on here too.
Hmm. What you're describing sounds really familiar to me. It sounds like exactly what happened here.
And there's more lightness surrounding all of this right now for me. It's been a very heavy journey of like the personal feels very heavy, the past feels heavy, the story was heavy. So I put all of my stock into spirituality and then that became very heavy. That wanting it to be the thing that was going to turn it all around, that in itself became its own new type of suffering. And dropping that one has felt nice.
Beautiful. Yeah. Yeah. Because it is a new burden that was picked up.
Yeah.
And it gave you some hope and some aliveness and something to look forward to and some new road. But it's when you see that it's another artificial road and that everything that you heard there was also just made up and not necessary. Could be a downer, but it can be a huge relief.
I've had memories lately of remembering back when I was a kid and felt very uninhibited and was wild and would dance around and like the way the kids will just like they're just standing there and then they'll look up at the sky and they'll just start spinning because they're just doing what the body wants to do and it feels fun and it feels nice. And there's no reason to be doing it other than they don't have it in them yet that they're not supposed to. I don't know. It's just sweet to me. I've been trying to let my body do what it wants to do lately. Um,
That sounds so healthy.
yeah, and there's a sweetness to it, to the body, of just it just wants to do what's natural to it.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
I think that's all right now. I didn't even really intend to share today, but um I don't know, there was an energy too. So
Yeah, it's beautiful. I'm glad that you shared. I do remember I felt like there was yeah, the seriousness of being an adult and being on the spiritual path and really getting somewhere and making something of my life. And like, all of that was falling away. And then it was like a childlike sort of energy again. And I know that's just a label, but that's how it kind of more energetically felt. And um yeah, it's really beautiful to see things in a new way. Like my whole life, I had judged myself so harshly on watching things, and there were a lot of stories about why that was the case. Um, I blamed it on certain people, and yeah, I thought it was a real like a bad thing, bad tendency that was here. But yeah, I think the past 2 years, hmm, yeah, I think my understanding of that, like the judgment around it or what makes it really wrong, that all of those ideas have just fallen away. So then it just is what it is. And then I can't even use the words binge or uh indulging or addicted, or it just doesn't make sense anymore because it's quite clear that there's nothing being avoided anymore. It's just this. And um I'm not saying that that didn't take some time to become more and more clear, but yeah, it's just so beautiful that there's just nothing wrong with any of those things.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks so much, Selena. And then maybe it just felt more like um it wasn't about the story. It wasn't about really what it meant about me as much anymore. It was just you see the effects of things on the body. And then things are just done from that. Body gets tired from watching too much or something like that. It's very simple. Yeah, there's no need to reprimand yourself anymore. I was thinking maybe when I post these videos on Patreon, if you guys want like a topic that I could talk about, you're welcome to kind of leave it in the comments. Um, and I'll see if it would be interesting to talk about. I think one of the confusing things, was it confusing? Sometimes it was confusing. Like, um, I guess overall you can say like this is sort of a emptying out process, but it's like fully embodying whatever's here, and it also doesn't matter. So some things can fully be playing out, and maybe you could have a sense like it's mending something in the past, or it's like untangling, unwinding something in the past. And then it can kind of diminish, and then something else might pop up. Yeah, things will be revealed to you. I just remember like every part of life where there was a lot of tightness and confusion and fear, or something that wasn't mended, or something that felt, I guess, still off. Yeah, it would just kind of appear on its own, maybe because life triggered something, or it was just random, like money or certain relationships, and it would kind of come in waves as well. It wouldn't all resolve all at once. It would maybe months later, it would come up in a different layer or to be seen differently. Yeah. Like the obsession over the body in different ways, or I remember one thing is like the there were some core personality traits here. How would I describe it? I guess like really caring for people, like really, really caring for people. Um, I think there were moments going through this, like there was an excess of love. There was an excess of like, because like some of you described, you could see the vulnerability, you could see where everything comes from, and then you see like it's kind of disgusting, but also there can be moments of like, I get it. I get why everyone is so messed up and it's kind of sad. Um, but I think the more that that kind of just diminished over time, the how I would describe it now, there was an excess care for people, as if I was responsible or I could change someone's life or I should. Um, and that was slowly diminishing as well. Yeah, so the ability to like over care, I guess, was gone. Um, and I guess it just became more immediate. Like if someone's in front of me, care would arise, and I did actually still care, but I don't really hold on to it. Um, Not nearly as much. It just kind of goes when that person is gone. And so it turns out fine. It's not like I became like a cold, hard, non-feeling thing. It was just so drastically different from how much there was, yeah, an over responsibility for other people's lives and their okayness. Yeah. And how much that actually flavored the relationships that were here. And there's not that much need to sustain a relationship um, in the same way. Or it's just different. I guess before it was like I really felt like I was helping them or I could help them. Yeah, there was just this energy, I guess, of need that needed to do that. Um, but yeah, I guess it has really diminished, and maybe now I do see friends, maybe a lot less, but you know, it's not to fix them or change them or make their life better. It's just it happens if it happens, and their life is it's okay if their life is a so-called mess because it's not really registered in that way anymore. It's like, yeah, life will be hard. Yeah, life will show you that you won't get what you want most of the time. And it sucks. And I understand that you're sad. Or um, I think I used to feel sad that I couldn't like celebrate people's huge life events or like achievements or something in the same way because I didn't have that same belief that that was going to be the answer to anything anymore. Um, but I think overall that has evened out too. And now I think I just generally see the ups and downs of the person. They celebrate what they really can and they juice it, and then they feel really horrible when they lose something. And there can be sort of a wallowing in it. and it just ebbs and flows that way. I guess I just see it more neutrally. Like it's okay that that happens, you know? Actually, you can't prevent that from happening. And you kind of see that it's hard for the person to see that it's very neutral, that it kind of has nothing to do with them because there's too many personal narratives around everything. That this is why this succeeded and this is why this failed and next time I'll do this or this. Like there's way too much narrowness around everything, beliefs around everything. And so it's really hard for them to actually see what's going on. Um, like that's why I think when you do see the beliefs of that you accumulate on the spiritual path, it keeps you very narrow because when things work out, you feel like this is what you did to make that happen, and the universe was like behind you, or I just intuitively sensed that this was right. And there's just all of these made up concepts around it. But inevitably, if something goes wrong, then, you're gonna feel like it's your fault, or you're gonna deny it in a way and just tell yourself a story that you didn't really want it to happen, or um like there's this whole confusing mechanism within that tries to justify everything or make sense of it in their own viewpoint. Like it just gets very complicated, but it's just is what it is. So they have no idea, like without that, you'd actually be very free. You'd actually see things as it actually is. You'd see reality. Um, but obviously, you can understand why it's hard to let that stuff go or impossible to until you, who knows, get tired of tr- trying to maintain that world, or you see that it doesn't quite make sense. There are cracks.